Hey, what's up, everybody? BDM44 coming at you with another video. All right, so I kind of want to talk about the Los Angeles Lakers because they got the Sacramento Kings coming up tonight at Sacramento's stadium. I'm not sure what they call it. Last I checked, it was Golden something Arena. So that's where we'll be at tonight, um, and it's going to be a real question mark, I guess, for myself in terms of what to expect from this team. In the last game, the setting itself was set up for us to have a real battle with the Memphis Grizzlies. John Moran had been, um, taking his shots at us, and they had beaten us these last couple times because we ran that small ball against them, and we know on paper that's terrible of a strategy to run against that team. Got beat bad. Had a nice little run at the end of the game with our boy Austin Reeves. Had Wayne Ellington get hot in the fourth quarter at the same time, so it made the score respectable, gave us an opportunity to cut it to like 7. But we gave ourselves no opportunity to close the game out, even in those efforts, because we continued to keep our third-string players on the floor during that process when the Grizzlies put their starters back on the floor. So it was very obvious to most of us that the Lakers were going to lose, and it was probably something that we really just had to live with from there. So now we move on from that game, and the momentum is south. We were on a 4-game winning streak. It was like momentum was there, and then one game could just snatch it from you. But the Los Angeles Lakers have done something. They picked up Sekou Doumbouya. Once again, I guess he was out with an injury, and we kind of let him go without contract during that process. He has healed up, so we've given him a two-way once again. So I'm guessing we're gonna call him up to help us out. And that's yet another big player who can provide some athleticism and strength and maybe a small ball center for us to use. So I like the idea if we decide to go that route. I think for me, if you're following me, I guess I'm settling in to the notion that small ball is what our team wants to do. And it's a little tricky for me because it's not what I want to do. So thinking from that perspective kind of leaves me at a disadvantage in a way from a basketball theory or a philosophy perspective, because I really don't believe this is the way forward. But it's also my responsibility to kind of lead you guys in the direction of what the Lakers are going to do. So as I'm listening, it seems like their interest is to pick up guys like Gary Trent Jr. and Jeremy Grant. That's kind of where Rob seems to be pointing his interest toward, guys who can fit in small ball lineups and continue to move us in that direction. We're hell-bent on playing Anthony Davis at the 5 and LeBron James at the 5 now until Anthony Davis gets back. So it's important that we have players that help us maximize that opportunity and those types of looks. For me, as I've said, I have no problem bringing in a guy like Jeremy Grant. I think it would be a great idea for us to go after a Gary Trent, depending on if we could fit his contract in and make it make sense. I do believe he's an upgrade from what we're lacking in Kendrick Nunn, of whom we haven't seen all year and is not yet ready to play. I'm on board with respecting the fact that he still has value out there because we know what type of prototype he is, and I don't think we could best utilize him. I think a lot of people think highly of what he can bring to the table because they're hoping he will come in and replace some of Russell Westbrook's minutes. I kind of get that, but I feel like we already have those players on roster, and AR-15, Malik Monk, and etc. They can hold that position down. I think we should kind of go in a different direction entirely. What position we should go for is probably more so the center position. But you figure if they're not going to use the center, you know what I mean? Like we've been handling with Montrezl Harrell and several other players since Vogel and Braun have been here. Then it makes no sense for us to go and get us an expensive high-level center that is ultimately not going to be used in every lineup. So we should probably go for a lesser talent there, someone who's just a little better than Dwight Howard, but not quite on the level of Miles Turner. And that way we can justify sitting him from game to game. We just need somebody good enough to keep on the roster to play at that position. So if that's the case, then we can kind of get that player in some lesser way and kind of focus on getting these small ball players. So Gary Trent, I would love to bring him in if that's the philosophy. I think he fits a lot of what we're going to do. I'm sure they'll try to play him at the 4, play him a lot of 3, which is fine because that's his natural position. And as he continues to grow stronger, I'm pretty sure he'll be able to help us. But I like him at the 3 and the 2 a little more. Probably the 3, though. and allow him to just hit that corner shot that he's learned to perfect over the last couple of years. So I don't know if he's going to be good, be a player, make us good enough to win a championship if we don't do enough else as well. But bringing him in will definitely give us a boost and probably add a couple wins to our win-loss column. So all of that is understood, and now we focus on the game tonight. Since those are just rumors, we don't really have any information in regards to the trades other than stuff that's being talked about. So tonight we play the Sacramento Kings, as I said, and it's really one of those things where Sacramento's a struggling franchise, but they also understand that they're running into a Laker team that's struggling, so they're probably going to feel real good about being at home against them. De'Aaron Fox is a player who's kind of had some ups and downs for his standards, but he's still capable of wearing us out, obviously. Tyrese Halliburton's a player who had a very good game passing the rock last time, so we need to be very aware that he makes things go for that team a lot of the time. If he's on the floor, they're probably going to play better offensively and defensively. And then, of course, you know that what I think of off night, Davion Mitchell, one of the best young rookies out there, who's capable of locking up your best player at any point. So long as the guy is not too big, he's going to have a lot of success guarding him. So it's important that we understand that he can quarterback their defense by himself, and that's something we need to be aware of. Harrison Barnes is somebody who's a well-oiled machine in this league, one of the more consistent players at that 3-4 spot. Somebody you can count on to pencil in for 20-plus points tonight. I think it's a very high chance that he plays well. And it's going to be a good chance that he's going to be banging with Bron some. If I'm coaching that team, he's going to have some looks against LeBron, because he's the guy that I think has the most size and foot speed that could probably give him the best opportunity to have success. I look at a guy like Marvin Bagley, no chance. They put Damian Jones on Bron last time. Bron had a good time beating him. So it's like I think if they're going to try to strategize against us, they're going to have to figure out how they're going to stop Bron. And to be completely honest with you, I don't think they have anybody down there that can even look at him funny. So as long as we can get some help out of the rest of the players, of most of whom had a bad game in the last game, if they can come out there and against Sacramento and give them some help offensively and continue the momentum that they've had defensively, because we did have some good sequences defensively in the first quarter before everything fell apart in that Memphis game. If we can kind of recapture some of our newfound habits defensively, I think we can really beat this team tonight, because Sacramento ain't that great. They're not. They're a long way away from being who it is that I think they can become, and they're probably a couple trades away from being serious playoff contenders. So we just got to manage their guard play tonight. I think that's what seems like it makes the most sense to say. They're gonna have a lot coming out of their guards. That's the bulk of what it is they do. It's De'Aaron Fox, Halliburton, Mitchell just doing the best they can to overpower teams. Like I said, Marvin Bagley's been playing better. In fact, this might be one of the best stretches of basketball he's had in his career, where he's just given an opportunity to really play in a regular rotation role without any injuries, without anything holding him back. So hopefully for him, he can just stay healthy for the rest of the season and just get this same type of minutes to go forward and just continue to get in better shape, because he's somebody who was drafted early. Obviously, you know about him because he was drafted in between Ayton and Trae Young and Luka Doncic, and it's kind of like he's the guy, the odd man out. But at the end of the day, I do believe that he's better than he's shown, and he still has some developing to do. But he's definitely the type of player that I think can really help Sacramento tonight against us in these small ball lineups. So I'd expect him to play well, and keep an eye open for him. So that's really what I want to say. I mean, Sacramento's not a team whose roster I have completely in my mind right now, even though we just played them not too long ago. Damian James is a guy I wish the Lakers still had. He's a type of center I think we should have in rotation. He's a guy we had in our locker room. He could jump out the gym. He could block a lot of shots. He just plays very hard. Obviously in this situation, as I said, they got him trying to guard Bron. That's tough, but he's a good player. So expect him to play well against a team he's familiar with. So, yeah, that's that, man. Sacramento, Lakers. Hopefully the Lakers can bounce back and get a win tonight. Play much better than they did in the last game. We shot well for the most part. The three-point shot was kind of falling from a numbers perspective. And obviously I'm looking at Brody. He had a game where he didn't get a triple double and didn't get double digits in any category, and that's not something we expect to see from him very often. He's in a lull. I've watched a commentary on his after the game, speeches and things like that, and some of the press conferences. Is what I'm trying to say. And he's been kind of defensive, they say, and all this different stuff. But at the end of the day, he's taking a lot of flack for not playing well. So I can see where it feels like everybody's against him. The fans aren't really cheering for him like that, and he's coming home. This is his hometown, so I'm sure he's not having the greatest time right now. But I'm happy with how he's handled it for the most part. I know it's a lot of stuff is can't get right type of stuff, and that's not necessarily something he can just turn on and off. When someone's struggling like that, you just kind of got to let them work that out on their own. And the adjustment that he's making with this team is the greatest adjustment he's ever had to make, because unlike in the Rocket situation, he wasn't only working against the system that didn't really fit him, but now in this case, he's working against his body, which is telling him it's time to slow down. You look at guys like John Morant flying all over the place. That used to be him. And while he's still a lot faster and a lot stronger than a lot of guards and can still be very athletic and do things like that, that quick twitch, high jumping ability and all that stuff is starting to work against him, and he has to adjust to the natural changes of the body. So I think a lot of that might be part of what's going on with him. And, you just got to expect that he's going to get used to his body, or you get used to whatever it takes to get himself into a space where he's comfortable with how he's moving out there. And so I'm hopeful that from here we can start to manage him a little better from game to game. If he's not playing well, you sit him. If he is playing well, you let him stay out there. So that's how we have to handle it. I think Frank Vogel is going to have to be more assertive in making adjustments. That's been the criticism about him. That was the worst part of really the weakest link of our game last against the Memphis, was just, quite frankly, he refused to make any changes. And we know, and no matter what sport it is, if you have a coach that isn't willing to make changes, chances are your team is not going to be very successful. So that is what's going on there. And I'm looking for Jeanie Buss to finally get tired of what she's seen from this coaching staff. That's what I'm hopeful will start to come about. I've been saying that we need to kind of revamp our coaching staff for about 3 months. I kind of quieted down over the last 2 weeks, but after the last game, I've seen enough, man. How much more do you need to see is the question. You're sitting up here running small ball over and over and over again. It's like, I don't care if it's Frank Vogel's idea or not. At some point in time, you just got to say, look, this is not working. And if you want me to pretend like I believe in this small ball crap, you're going to have to give me some players that can do something within it, because that's what we're lacking right now. So it is what it is, man. I don't know that it's Frank Vogel's fault, but he needs to step up and do what works for his own sake, for his own legacy. Yes, you are an employee of the Lakers today, but after you leave the Lakers, you're going to have to get a job somewhere else too. And what you don't want to be is the guy that can't manage the superstar ego, the guy who can't, man up and say, yo, this ain't working, we're doing something else. And if I'm not allowed to say or have a say-so on what it is that we're running, then that needs to be conveyed somehow. He needs to fight somehow, because at the end of the day, you're not going to force me into a losing circumstance and then blame me for why we're not winning. You know what I mean? So whether it's his inability to do that or his inability to make the right decisions as is, either way, he ain't the man for the job. That's where I'm at with that. So I know he's won a championship already. Hey, I know that. So a lot of people will say I'm not making any sense when I say get rid of a championship coach. But to me, I don't think we can win this way. And this is the way we're running right now. So, period. That's it. If he's willing to make changes, go. But if he's not willing to make the changes that are going to make us a better team, I can't live in 2020 and expect 2022 to be the same. We're not doing the things we did in 2020 when we don't have that same roster, which better fit him, by the way. This one doesn't as much. So let's just be real, man. We got a bunch of offensive players and a defensive coach. We can get mad at him for not making adjustments, but at some point we need to look at ourselves and say we need to make adjustments as an organization. And that's why I'm looking at Jeanie and Rob and asking them to do that as a fan, because we're not good enough. And we can pretend like we're good enough, but we look at the Memphis Grizzlies, they're better than us. We look at the Golden State Warriors, they're better than us. Look at the Milwaukee Bucks, the Nets, Chicago, they're all better than us. So I for one am tired of complaining in this in this phone, and I'm sure you're tired of hearing it. So hopefully the Lakers can do something to make us proud, and starting tonight by winning this game against Sacramento. So that's what I got to say, man. BDF 44. I thank you all for watching. I'm out.